together at the mountaintop, champions of college football.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your opening drive episode for the week of March 24th of the Coach and Couch Potato, brought to you by the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy, Cornerstone Home Remodeling. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we have a very OSU-clad, decked out Coach Slate. What is going on, sir?
Oh, not much, man. Busy times in the Slater household. 3-hour gymnastics practice today. Obviously, we'll talk about it. Had a chance to go down to OSU practice today. So, was gone a good chunk of the day. Been working on some football stuff. My own personal life, a lot of changes going on. So, man, we're out here hustling. We're grinding, but, we're powering through, man. How's everything going with you?
Good. We are chugging along. The boys, got to watch Jaden Bowl, not in person this weekend because it was kind of a weird schedule, so I didn't risk it, I guess you would say. Wrapped up their season. Not the way we wanted to, but, you either get better or you learn.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So definitely a personal growth year for him, which obviously as a dad makes you proud.
Yep.
Been grinding away over here on the memorabilia front, setting up a baseball card show this Saturday for the first time ever. So I'm trying to get all my stuff together. It's kind of in coordination with that big OSU signing we talked about a couple weeks ago. And they've added guys since then. JTT is going to be there now. Travion's going to be there. The Styles brothers. We're up to 22 dudes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, got some stuff to do. May end up taking a day off at the end of the week to finish getting ready because I've slacked a little bit. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, man, it happens.
Yeah, so, you hit on, you were at practice today.
Yeah.
So we really just want to kind of dive in, not a whole lot obviously going on in the Ohio State world. So what better way to get some observation than from the man's eyes himself? Before we dive into your observations real quick, though, we talked about how the Ohio State labeled spring ball is going to end with spring showcase.
Yeah.
Coach Day comes out today and he says the plan now is to play a spring game. Obviously with spring games being under a microscope everywhere, what do you think about that?
Yeah, man, listen, one of the things I saw today is our guys are going to get limited reps. That is just the way that it is. You're going to see that in the NFL with the veteran players, right? You're going to see Caleb Downs get limited reps. You're going to see Jeremiah Smith. Our dudes are going to get limited reps, right? With the spring game, you want to see these young guys who need to go out and prove themselves. You want to see them get reps. And so as a coach, there's a part of you that wants to have that spring game so you can see Julian Sayin get game-like reps. So you can see CJ Hicks, even though he's a vet, he's new to his position. You want to see him get game-like reps as a defensive end. You want to see Malik Hartford get more game-like reps. Jalen McClain, all these new guys that we're going to be counting on, you want to see them get game-like reps. But on the flip side with limited roster with 105, now you also have to think about injuries as well. And so do you actually want to see Caleb Downs out there? Probably not. So, do I hold him out? Is that a situation where, do I even put him out there? Is he just go out there in a jersey? Is it worth it? So then do we just do a showcase if we're going to hold out 20 of our best players? So that's where you're kind of in a bind. And so I get it from the aspect of looking at the roster as a whole and seeing maybe we have a lot more young guys than I realize that we need to actually see what they can do in front of a crowd, get some real game-like reps. And so I personally want the spring game to actually happen. It's not that often you can go buy a ticket for $20 and get into the shoe. Exactly. And so from the fan experience, I really want that. But from the head coach side of things, I would totally get if he wanted to just do the showcase.
Yeah, absolutely. He did say that obviously that may change depending on injuries. If we have a lot of guys get dinged up, then we have that flexibility now. It'll be interesting to see, though. I just found that pretty cool, though, because, there are so many programs modifying their spring practices. And I do think we eventually, like you said, go to a true OTA model to where, these guys are monitored closely. you don't. We thought last year, we're like, you're not going to see Jeremiah Smith play in the spring game, and he played more than he should have, if we're being 100% honest.
Yeah.
But I obviously this year you're not going to put him out there, if at all.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Pro day this week.
Yeah.
So I know there were some guys. I think Will was there today.
Yeah.
Donovan, I saw him.
Yeah.
So always cool to see those guys come back. Which, I mean, what is it? Cardinal Tate and Brandon Ennis are going to run routes.
Yep.
For Will Wednesday.
Yeah.
Every scout in that building wants to see somebody else running routes, though.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, man.
All right. Well, yeah. So obviously, the quarterbacks are the big one. I know you've got 6 different sets of observations that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But what stood out to you about the quarterbacks?
Yeah, so we can jump right into that. So the quarterbacks, man, I thought from all 3 guys, it was a very good day. The one thing I will say, the first thing that stood out to me about the quarterbacks was how good I think Billy Fessler is as a coach. I thought he was very even keel. You can see the way that he is really trying to teach these guys. Every single rep matters. Every single rep is another opportunity to get better. And you can tell that him and the other, quarterback coaches or GAs that are working with these guys are really taking each rep into that type of consideration. And so I love that small attention to detail. You can tell that they're really trying to build not just Julian and Lincoln, but Tavian as well. And so I love those small attention to details, the way that they're commanding the huddle, right? They're coaching them on every small thing. And so that is one thing that I really love seeing. The one thing that really stands out, obviously, everybody talks about Julian's release. I mean, his release, it's pure, right? The ball comes out of his hands so quick. He's definitely gained some weight. You could tell he's got a lot stronger arm than he had last year, but the ball does come out of his hand a lot different than the other 2. Lincoln's athleticism jumps it jumps out at you. He had some really, really, really good throws today. I was very impressed with some of the throws that he had. And Tavian as well. Listen, Tavian is a big individual. You almost forget how big he is. Obviously we talked about it last week. Got to see him live, a couple years ago in the 7-on-7 championship at Ohio State. But he is a big individual. I mean, I bet he's every bit of 230 pounds, and he's like rock solid. And he's got a cannon of an arm. And so that really jumped out to me as well. It's obviously really early in this quarterback battle. I can't say, who's the best or who I think is going to be the starter. But I will say that I thought Julian Sayin really commanded the huddle very well. I'm not saying the other 2 didn't. I thought the other 2, Lincoln and Tavian, had a really good day. But I loved what I saw from Julian with the way that he took command of the huddle. It was a much respect to that. All 3 quarterbacks took reps with the first team offensive line and the first team receivers as well. But I was really impressed with Julian. You could definitely tell he's really taken this very businesslike. And you can tell that Lincoln is really taking this like, I have a true opportunity to be the guy. Like, he's not backing down. And you could tell there were a couple throws that Tavian had that he was really upset with upset with himself about. Like, you could tell Tavian's looking at this like, y'all ain't forgetting about me. I'm in the mix for this too. So it's iron sharpening iron. And so that was one thing that I really like. And the other thing I like too, man, Coach Day is in the CEO role, and that's another observation we'll get into later. But anybody can get it. It doesn't matter who you are. If he doesn't like what you did, anybody can get it. And he got on Tavian quick about something, and he coached him up, man. And it was just like, I love seeing guys getting coached hard and them taking it on the chin, doing whatever they need to do, and they bounce back and they're able to go out and execute what Coach Day or whatever coach wanted to see. And so, listen, I think the quarterback group is getting coached really hard, and I thought it was a really good day, a very clean day from the quarterbacks. And I just impressed with Coach Fessler, impressed with the way that they were commanding the offense. And it was just, I thought it was a really good day from the quarterback group.
Yeah, and one thing that, it's funny that you mentioned, Lincoln taking that seriously. I can't remember. I've heard multiple guys say it, that are on the beat. And that's the cool thing about the way, we are just a couple of guys talking ball. Obviously that's what, you look at it from a coaching perspective. I try to, that's been our thing. But to hear these guys on the beat talk about how different Lincoln Kienholz looks.
Yeah.
They're like, this time last year, we knew he was third in the pecking order behind Will Howard and Devin Brown. This time, this is a different kid. And, like we've said since we started this thing, and you just talked about it, the kid is athletic as can be.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. And obviously, 15 spring practices, I don't think we're going to know. But Coach Day might. He might do, quote unquote, right by his guys, especially if it's going to be Julian starting, and tell Lincoln, hey, I think we're leaning Julian. If you want to pursue something, pursue it. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it definitely will be.
I guess, staying on the offense, just one of the questions I have, because it's been floated out there a lot. How did CJ Donaldson look physically? I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. Obviously it's been thrown out there a lot that he has lost some pounds at Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, I'll just dive into the running backs in general. The running back room is it's hard to describe the way that running back room looks. They don't need to go into the portal to get anybody else. I mean, this is a very talented room. First off, CJ Donaldson, obviously he's cut weight. He looks fantastic. He looks the part, but he's still huge. He's cut weight, but he's Trey Sermon size. He's a big individual still. And so he looks solid. James Peoples he has gotten bigger. James Peoples is monstrous. I'm talking Maurice Jones-Drew, to that type of build. I mean, the running back room, Bo Jackson looks like he's been there for 3 years. I mean, he is built different. Sam Williams-Dixon had a really good day. TC Caffey looks like TC Caffey. You would never know he had a knee injury with the way some of the cuts that he was making. And Isaiah West isn't back to full strength yet. But even Chase Brecht, who's a walk-on from Olentangy Liberty. These guys they look the part. And the one thing that stands out about them, they talk about Lock boys and that culture. Coach Locke coaches every rep, their life depends on it. I'm talking every rep in individual, every rep in team, every rep in 7-on-7. He makes the running backs chase after every single play. And if they don't, he literally chases after them. He literally chases after the running backs if they don't go chase the play. I'm a very intense coach. And I get after it on the field. It is a workout for me. Coach Locke, he might have one up on me. This dude takes it to another level with intensity. And so CJ Donaldson, the running back room in general, man, they are getting coached so hard. And so I see why people want to come play for Coach Locke. I see it because they get coached hard. He may call them soft. He was telling them that, unhitch the U-Haul and all these different things, right? Get them cinder blocks off your feet. He was saying all these things that all the trainers and all the coaches are looking at each other dude, he's letting loose on these guys. But then they would go to a teach period and he's loving them up and telling them all the things hey, you did this right, but why are you so slow out of your cuts? It's those little tiny details that he's so focused on. He was coaching Bo Jackson harder than, anybody else, I believe. And he probably wouldn't say that, but I think he sees something in Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson has potential to be an elite running back at Ohio State. I mean, elite. He does not look like a freshman. He does not. And I think they see something in him. Obviously, they see something in CJ and James Peoples. But that running back room, I think we are in good hands for multiple years.
So speaking of the running back room, I thought it was really cool. Sam Williams-Dixon spoke to the media today. Obviously he entered the portal and then decided he was coming back. I thought it was very cool how forthcoming he was about that experience. And he basically said, I'm a quiet dude. That didn't allow me to build a relationship with Coach Locke. And as far as going into the portal, I was listening to the wrong people.
Yeah, man.
So I thought that was really cool. What's the next group you want to dive into? I mean, let's just have at it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I really wanted to dive into, man, was the intensity. This is the one thing that really jumped out to me from the very beginning. I mean, even in like the small walkthrough sessions, the intensity from the coaches, the intensity from the players as far as their communication, just their level of focus is just, they are locked in. You can tell they are not being complacent. You can tell that they are not enamored with, we just come off a national championship. You can tell they're focused on taking advantage of each day and understanding that they have Texas coming up. Like they don't have time to waste. And I love that mindset. And you can tell there is no complacency. And so the sense of urgency is there. And that was the one thing that I was hoping that I saw today, a sense of urgency. And you can tell, right? When you would go watch Urban Meyer's practices, there was a sense of urgency, right? You would almost feel uncomfortable around Coach Meyer, right? You almost didn't want to like everybody was a little on edge. You kind of got that feeling today. Like people are just on edge, and there was like a little chippiness at times. And like you got that feeling today. And I was very happy to see that. And it was a good feeling. It was a good amount of trash talk. Like I love seeing that. There wasn't like trash talk, like disrespectful, but it was like trash talk in the sense of competition. There was a rep where CJ Hicks and Phillip Daniels got into it. I mean, CJ Hicks, bull rushed him and got his hands up under his face mask, and Phillip Daniels was not happy about that. And they got to pushing and shoving. And then 2 plays later, they dapped each other up, you know what I mean? And hugged it out. And it was like a brotherhood type moment. And those are the things like you want to see. And so I was very, very happy to see that type of intensity in a spring practice where you just hear Coach Day worried about injuries, but these guys are going at it full speed. And so that was one of the first things I was really happy about. The second big observation for me, obviously the offensive line group. Coach Bowen, offensive line coach, coming in, he's got to set the tone. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. You can tell the relationship that he's already built with this offensive line group. That group has done a great job of adapting to his coaching style. Obviously, with the unlimited coaches now, that is a huge win for college football. Like every head coach is probably jumping for joy when they are able to look at these position groups and see that they can have 3, 4, 5 coaches in these position groups just coaching their tails off. Ohio State is in such a good position. We talked about having Coach Dickey. We talked about having Coach Johnson. There is just so many good coaches that there is around these guys that are able to help out. And so the offensive line is getting coached really hard by 3 really good guys. There's a ton of position versatility going on. Like guys are getting moved here and there. They're trying to create depth. They don't want to be in a situation like they were this year with Donovan Jackson. Like they're preparing for that stuff now. They're obviously focusing on certain positions first, but then when the third group comes in or the fourth group comes in, you're going to see, Luke maybe taking reps as a tackle, right? You're going to see guys getting moved around just so like, hey, if this happens, remember in the spring for those 15 days, Luke did take 20 reps as a tackle. So it's not brand new to him, right? So those are things that we are seeing, and I was really, really happy about that. And then the other thing, obviously, I posted a picture with my guy Luke today. I just want to give him some flowers, man. Listen, this dude is the one thing we told Luke when he left for college. You go from being the guy to being low man on the totem pole. You go from where the game is really slow as a senior in high school to where the game is too fast for you to keep up, right? Luke, my guy, is entering the 3rd spring of his career. And I can't tell you how proud I was of him when he came to me after practice and said, Coach, things are slowing down. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like I was just so happy to hear
That's
that.
what's up.
I was so happy to hear that for him because, freshman, sophomore year, it's a grind, man. It is a grind, and he didn't really get his opportunity until the playoffs, and he made the most of that opportunity. And now things have slowed down for him. And you could tell that. Like he is so comfortable out there on the field, took reps at guard and center. And so, like, I'm just happy for my guy, man. So the offensive line group, they are going to be in really good hands with the leaders they have coming back and with Coach Bowen and the other guys in that offensive line room. And so they really stood out to me today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that a lot of sophomores who had kind of gone through almost the roller coaster that Luke had gone through would have done what he was able to do in the playoffs. He came in and, I mean, he played really. Yes, there were some plays, that he got beat on. It's going to happen even when you're a senior.
Yeah.
But the guys that were beating him on those plays were NFL talents. Harmon beat him on the one play against Oregon.
Yeah.
But, going into fall camp last year, everybody thought Luke was going to start. And then, Tegra and Austin kind of get around him. But he was ready. And that's a sign of the kid himself. I mean, So shout out Luke for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so those were like the first two like big observations that I noticed. The other one, man, like we talked about it. I know you said, the reports of Coach Mick's demise were vastly like, listen, these dudes put in work in the offseason. I mean, they put in work. Jeremiah Smith, first off, Jeremiah Smith might be the hardest worker on the team. Like, and I cannot stress like how awesome that is that your dudes are your hardest workers on the team. One of my favorite moments from today's practice, I was talking about Coach Locke, right? Coach Locke is a lunatic on the field in the greatest way, right? I'm talking like he's chasing after his running backs to chase after the play. Where there was a moment where, there was a big play and Jeremiah Smith, was kind of just jogging. And Coach Locke starts running after him and says, hey, go chase a play. You're talking the best receiver in the country, guaranteed top 10 pick, top 5 pick in the NFL draft in 2 years. I'm getting paid millions of dollars. I ain't got to do that. I'm still going to be that guy for Ohio State. If I want to walk, I'm going to go walk back over here and take a knee because my Mercedes is sitting out there. The parking lot looks way different, by the way, at the Woody. I'm just going to say that. I will say that. But I'm going to go back over here and take a knee, get my Gatorade and chill. This dude turned around, looked at Coach Locke and took off in a dead sprint after the play. Then came back, dapped up Coach Locke and said, that's on me, coach, and didn't even bat an eye about it. And I'm just like, the best player in the country can take that kind of coaching, right? And Coach Locke felt comfortable enough to coach him.
Yeah.
He didn't look at him. That's not his player, right? And so we always talk about culture. We always talk about culture with Ohio State. And everybody thinks like, culture is just this buzzword, but like that is culture.
To a T.
That is culture. Right now, you would say like, well, he shouldn't have had to do that. I get that. I understand that. But the fact that he was able to do that, like you're talking, that's your guy, that's your star player. And so that was something that really jumped out to me today. But like these guys in the weight room, like phenomenal. They put on so much weight, like good weight. Quincy Porter, yeah, I went with a couple coaches, and Quincy Porter is wearing number 11. And one of the guys I went with looked at me and said, dude, who the heck is number 11? And they were like, where did he come from? Is he a transfer? Like, where did he come from? He's a freaking grown man. And I was like, that's Quincy Porter. He should be getting ready for prom right now. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, he's a true freshman. Like he should be in high school. I don't even know if he's 18 yet. I mean, he is like, I'm not saying like massive like Jeremiah Smith, but he is tall, and you could tell like he put on like good weight. I don't know how you keep him off the field. he is a big individual. I did not realize he was that big and lanky, and like he's a slender guy, but he has got like mass on him. And I just was looking at him like, wow, like, and so the work that they have put in the weight room is just like really, it's really impressive. So shout out to Coach Mick, man, for putting in that work. You know, the defensive line group, that was another group I was really impressed with. You know, Kenyatta looks good. The defensive line, the defensive tackles, you know, I think there are some question marks, but the guys that we have questions about, the Will Smiths, the Jason Moores, the Tywan Malones, it's not for a lack of effort. You know, they did put in the work that they need to put in. You can see Will Smith put on some good weight. You know, Tywan Malone put on some good weight. He looks a lot bigger. Jason Moore put on some good weight. And so they just need to come through. I mean, that's just what it is. They're unproven. They just need to come through. Jarquez Carter does not look like a freshman. Like, he will play as a freshman.
I'm stoked for that one.
I mean, like those are just guys that have to come through. Dominic Kirks looks great. Like, they're just guys that have to come through for us that are just unproven. Had a chance at the end to meet. I got to hang out with Nate Regal, another one of my guys from Findlay, who's a walk-on. He was doing some work after practice, and so I got a chance to meet Logan George, the transfer from Idaho State. Another guy that looks good, putting in some extra work. You know, I asked him how he was doing. He was like, man, you know, obviously, you know, coming from Idaho State, coming here, it's a big jump. But things are starting to slow down for me, and, you know, I'm starting to pick it up. And, you know, he's another good looking guy. He's going to be able to provide good depth for us. So, like, the defensive line group, I was really impressed with. The support staff around Larry Johnson, man, they were coaching hard. And Larry is Larry. You know, he's getting up there in age, man, but like, he still got it. He still got the juice, still got the fire, man. And so defensive line group looked really good, and I was very happy to see that. They just gotta come through for us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is by far the biggest question mark on this team.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, it's not a lack of effort. You know, I will be interested to see. We've heard a lot of good about Will Smith. You know, Jason Moore, I think, has a lot of potential. I do think they're going to go to the portal for the D-line group. Now, obviously, that can go both ways. You know, some of these guys may dip out. I don't know that that'll be the case, because I think, you know, you have a lot of guys who love playing for Coach J. So that does factor in. And, you know, at the end of the day, the portal options in the spring portal, you know, last year we were told the spring portal is going to be the craziest thing you've ever seen in college football history.
Yeah.
And it was the most overhyped thing, I think, this side of Michigan's championship being legitimate.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I know that group, you know, is going to, but like Tywan Malone, like, that's a freak athlete, dude.
Yeah, man.
Like, that dude can knock the snot out of a baseball and run the bases. Like,
yeah. And those guys, I mean, and the talent is there. It's just unproven talent. And the numbers are there, the bodies are there. And when you watch them, like, you see what they saw when they recruited them. It's just, will they come through? And I'm hoping that they do. You know, I want Jason Moore to be the guy. I want Will Smith badly to be the guy. Obviously, like, we want Will Smith to come through, you know, the legacy of his father and things like that. You know, we want Tywan Malone to be the guy. We want Jarquez Carter to come in as a true freshman and just wreak havoc and be that next great defensive tackle that we have. You know, we want these guys to really come through for us, and I think they can. You know, they just gotta go out and do it. And so that's one of the things that you just don't know what you're going to get when you're not really doing full padded practices.
Right.
And that's one of those things where, you know, do we have the spring game so we can have these guys really prove themselves, or do we do more of the showcase? That's where you got to teeter on that line of, do we do this or do we not do this? And so that's a group that is kind of in flux, but the numbers are there, man. I'm just really hoping they come through, because the talent, there's no doubt they're there, and they're getting coached up, man. Coach Patrick, the high school coach who, you know, was at UAB there last year, you could tell he was comfortable being back at Ohio State and back in the Woody. And so that was that was really cool, man. And then so that D-line group, I'm excited for them. And like I said, I hope some of those young guys are really able to step up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a grind, but you are getting presumably the preseason number one team in the country, and as we record this, as Ryan Day said today, 159 days. I
Yeah.
mean, they're going to run the ball. They're gonna run arch. I mean, it's going to be a war.
Yeah.
So I guess another group, I'm sure you probably have it on your paper. So if I'm jumping down your list, just tell me. But probably your favorite position group to watch. What'd you see out of BIA?
They're good. BIA is in good hands, man. Caleb Downs he had an interception in 7-on-7. You could tell they're being very careful with him. Obviously, they know what they're going to get with him. I think Matt Patricia has some good plans for him. He has any defensive coordinator would. There's a lot of different ways you can use him. He's just such a versatile player, and so I think that he's the best safety in the country, and you know what you're going to get with him. The big question mark is going to be that other safety. I think Malik Hartford is primed to be the strong safety in this defense. He looks like $1 million. He is a big individual. I think him and Jalen McClain are two really good guys. I think Jalen McClain is more in that mold of what Caleb Downs is in. And so it'll be interesting to see how they go about that competition. But Malik Hartford, I almost said Malik Harrison. Malik Hartford, he had a really good day today. Corner wise, we talked earlier before we got on here. Devin Sanchez definitely looks apart. There were some moments today he looked like a freshman, but then there's some moments as well where you see like the generational talent. Aaron Scott is a great player. He's going to do some big things for the Buckeyes. Jermaine Matthews had some phenomenal plays. He had one play where he undercut this route in cover one, and it was just flawless, and he almost picked off somebody. IGB is IGB. There was a couple plays where he took some risk. And then who's the other corner? I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Lorenzo or
Bryce West. Bryce West was in the slot, did some good things, and then Lorenzo made some good plays as well. So there's a ton of talent, man. There's a ton of talent. Miles Lockhart made some plays. Even Archie Griffin's grandson made some plays. Like, there's talent across the board. The guy I really focus on, and I know this is just a football nerd in me, like I know what I'm going to get from him, all those big name guys. The guy I really focus on today was Fahim Delane. And because I just think he's an underrated kid who's going to be in that competition. And he's not underrated. He was one of the best safeties in the country in this 2025 class.
So he's almost unthought of.
Exactly. And then not many people talk about him, but I think he's going to push Hartford a little bit for that strong safety spot. I think he's that talented. And I thought he had a really good day. Like, he looks like he belongs out on the field. And so that was somebody I really paid attention to. Cody Haddad made a great play. Freshman from Cleveland, St. Ignatius. He's a ball hawking safety. Working over top of a deep post. It was a really good play. And so listen, the talent in that room is, I don't want to say endless, but it just keeps going. Leroy Roker, there's just some really good players in that room. And to see Tabor Johnson back on the field, like, that was kind of crazy for me to see him back out there. But then, to see Coach G and Nate Ebner out there, like, it was just, BIA's in good hands, man. So BIA, I knew what I was going to get with them. The corners are locked down.
Yeah, Roker's a dude who has started to get some love from the other guys. Like, you hear these guys say, that's a dude that is slowly, he's starting to get it. I think he was a little raw when he came to campus, but he's got the physical tools. And Cody Haddad, obviously not this year with the depth we have probably, but, that was a dude when he committed to Ohio State. A lot of Buckeye fans were like, why are we taking this kid? This kid was hurt a lot in high school. Had a massive injury to where, he didn't play basically his whole senior year, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And The kid's a dog, though.
He is,
and
man.
We throw that out there a lot, but like, watch the tape. This kid is a dog.
Athletically, man, he is. Some of the things that he can do with the ball skills that he has. He showed it today. So the safety room is in pretty good hands. Leroy Roker is another one of those guys that it's got freakish athletic ability. And it was just good. And they were doing some very easy, simple things coverage-wise, obviously just starting out in a new defense. But I expect some big things from especially those corners, man. They were pretty good. I think we legitimately have 4 corners that we could play.
Love it. What is the next one on your list?
So number 6, the last one that I have on my list is, well, it's technically it would be number 5. The one thing that really jumped out one of the things that jumped out to me today was the number of guys that were back in town from the national championship team. I was really happy to see that. Trey was there, Will Howard was there, Tyleek was there. Who else was there? Donovan Jackson was there. Cody Simon was there. Josh Fryer was there. So all these guys who were key. Mecca was there. All these guys who were key contributors. Seth McLaughlin was there. He's out of his walking boot. He was in running shoes. So, all these guys who were key contributors were back. And it was so cool to just see them jump right back into the mix of being out there with the guys. It was great. They were mingling with the guys, but they weren't disruptive. That's one of the things that you always worry about when the guys come back, like the alumni come back. Are they going to disrupt what you're doing? And they just jumped right back in and they were helping, or they were talking trash a little bit, and that was fun. And then I saw Mayan Williams. And so I think Mayan Williams is going to be at the pro day. And so I think he's going to be working out at the pro day. I would assume that's why he was training. And so it was good to see him. He looks great. Looks like $1 million, man. And so I was happy to see him. And then I got to meet Cameron Babb. So I was really happy to see him. He's doing some good things in the athletic department. And then the last key takeaway for me was the brotherhood. And I say that because they had a guy who was walk-on the team, and he was doing the signals. And, it looked like it might have been his first day doing the signals. I don't know if he was injured or whatever, and he's kind of messing up. And there's a lot, right? Things are going fast, they're going tempo. And to see, and he's a receiver, and to see the receivers look after their guy was one of the coolest things that I've seen in a long time. They are over there, looking for the signals, getting the play. And, the coaches, we're lunatics. If we're not getting what we want, we raise our voices. We do come on, we need to play. Let's go. We're calling it. You got a signal. Let's go. We're on a time limit. We only got 5 minutes. Let's go. And the receivers are like, hey, calm down, man. You got it. They just keep talking to him. They keep talking to him. After the play, they go over, hey, man, put their arm, hey, you're good, man. You're good. You got this. And that was so cool to see. And I know that probably meant the world to this kid. And so that was one of my favorite parts of the day, just to see, them taking care of their guy. That is so cool to me, right? This kid may never play, but he had an important role for today's practice, a very vital role to today's practice. They couldn't do today's practice the way they wanted to do if he wasn't there. And so the guys understood how important his role was, and they wanted him to do it well. And so they're trying to get him to work through some of the slip-ups. And I thought that was pretty sick, man. And then the kid worked through it, and then there was no more issues for the rest of the day. And so I thought that was pretty cool, man. And so that was a pretty cool takeaway for me, man. And so it was a good practice. Ohio State always takes care of the coaches when they come down. They mingle. They do a good job of introducing themselves. And then Coach Hinton, Coach Hinton is the mayor of the Woody. I mean, he's given me a tour a million times of the Woody, and every time's the first time, right? And he is great. And so we had a couple young coaches with me, and giving the tour of the Woody, and those coaches are just like starstruck. They're seeing the different things, and got to touch Archie's second Heisman and all these different things, and it was so cool. For those of you who have never been in the Woody Hayes Center, so they've got Woody Hayes's last like chalkboard that he was writing on for his last book that he wrote, and he's got like the chapters that he was writing on the book, and it's like framed and it's really nice, and it's in this room, and like Woody Hayes is talking as you walk into this room, and the coaches that I were with were like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like you could just feel like Woody's spirit in the room and stuff. And so it's just a cool experience every time you're down there. Coach Hinton gasses it up every time. And it was just good, man. It's always fun to get down there. And it's a cool thing that the Ohio State coaching staff does. They really take care of the state of Ohio when it comes to coaches, because they know how important it is to the recruitment and the lifeblood of the program. And so it's always cool to get the opportunity to go. It's probably my 15th or 16th time being able to go down there. And so I don't take it for granted, man. It's always fun. And, it's nice to be able to see a couple guys that I've coached have the opportunity to be down there. And, it's good. I'm proud of them. And the Buckeyes look like they're ready to go. They're not taking the stuff for granted, man. So today was a good day, man. I got no complaints.
Love it. One little quick caveat recruiting wise. I don't know how much this visit was planned, but a guy we talked about on the last Recruiting Chips episode, Albert Hill, was in the building.
He was there.
There. That's big. That is big. Our guy Sincere Johnson's due on campus this week. I think you said your guy CJ is visiting this week, visiting a practice. Is that right?
He went last Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Last
Wednesday.
So, yeah, I mean, getting some of those guys out there. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. It's always cool to hear your insights, as we do this, because as we said, we don't look at this from the beat writer perspective. We're not trying to piece together a depth chart or any of that.
No.
Yes, we will speculate on those things.
Yeah.
But we want to know what the guys look like.
Yeah.
What is going on when it comes go time. I thought it was cool to see your comment about Nate. As a walk-on, how much he has bulked up.
Oh man, I mean, legitimately, like he went down there. He's 210 pounds, and I bet you he's close to 230. Looks like $1 million. He's sticking around after practice with 2 rotational defensive ends, putting in work like he's going to be the starter. And he wants it. Like he wants it. He just literally just texts me like, "Hey, can I call you tomorrow night? I got some things I want to talk to you about." He wants to work, and he's texting Coach Johnson, like wanting to meet with him all the time. And so that's cool, man. Like it's a true brotherhood, and he's so pumped that he's a part of it. And so I'm like I say, man, I'm proud. I'm proud of these guys, man. I'm proud of Luke. He was literally, I got a picture with him, and he gave me a hug, and he was like, "Coach, man, I love you. I got to get out of here. I got a presentation at 12:40." And it was just like, I just love seeing these guys, man. They're learning how to manage their time, and those are the things that I care about. The stuff on the field is awesome. It's cool to see, but the understanding what's important, understanding that hard work matters, and understanding the things that are going to take them farther in life than the game of football. It's just like, man, okay. We did all right. Their parents did even better.
Right. You can't teach work ethic.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot. So yeah, I mean that's Coach Slate's spring ball observations. But awesome. I enjoy, letting you talk about that stuff. Like I said, I enjoy hearing it, as we do this thing together, but I look at this episode as a listener. So shout out to you for all your hard work that has allowed you those opportunities. It's always cool to see the fruits of your labor. And obviously there's big stuff on the horizon for you and the guys you're coaching with. Again, I'll put it out there in the air that I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that, man.
I think that, the world needs more coaches like you, and the guys you're coaching with. That's why something special is brewing.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
So yeah, I'm excited on that front too. We're not going to promise you guys anything for the rest of the week, but there's a very good chance there's going to be a recruiting chips episode at the end of the week. Obviously, if something else pops off, we really want to dive into the goings on in Ann Arbor. There have been some, but
Yeah.
honestly, I'll be 100% transparent. I'm overwhelmed diving into it. There is so much stuff. Like, I mean, you're literally reading federal indictments. I mean, it's not just, oh, this is what they did. No, there's a lot to it. And I don't want to misconstrue anything. I want to make sure I have my ducks in a row before we address that.
Yeah.
So, we'll do some NFL draft stuff. We'll do a pro day recap next week. But yeah, I think that's all I got.
That's all I got too, my man.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys as always. Thank you to the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy, Cornerstone Home Remodeling, and we will see you guys either end of the week with a special episode of Recruiting Chips or an opening drive next week.